I'm going to be talking about the 12.3 changes, alright? You got a lot of Bruiser items getting changed coming through. Like, a lot of these changes are really relevant to Rengar top. So, I just wanted to put in my 2 cents. So, right now, the main builds I go are... right now, actually, if we look at the MOBA Fire Guide, the main guides I go at the moment are the Divine Sunder and the Gore Drinker builds. I mostly go Gore Drinker Bork into a bunch of tank items, or Divine Sunder into a bunch of Bruiser items, alright? So I'm especially interested in the Death Stance, Black Cleaver, and Gore Drinker Sunder changes. There's also the Chemtech build, also shown here. I don't run this nearly as much, but it is a build, and they are attempting to nerf it for damage healers at the moment. So I'm going to start with that. So what they're doing is they're making the condition for gaining stacks based on taking damage instead of dealing damage. So what this means is, instead of people like Akali abusing the item by constantly stacking up while avoiding damage with the smokescreen, you have to actually be tanky to actually want to build this item. If you're building this item and you're not taking damage, you're not going to be dealing damage either, or as much. Which is big for Akali abusers. But for Rengar, Chemtech Rengar top, I don't think this is going to be as big of a deal. Because when you do go Chemtech top, alright, mostly you're going to be going a build somewhat like this, where you're mostly just going Titanic Hydra, triple Chemtank. You're going to be building a bunch of tank items anyways. If that's the build you're going, it doesn't matter, because with Rengar, once you dive in there, you're not relying on invisibility or avoiding damage to survive a fight, unlike Akali. With Rengar, you're going in, you're tanking that shit, you're using your W to heal it up, which means that you're still going to be stacking up Turbo Chemtank really fast, especially if like there's not a too big of a time cap. So let's say you jump in as Rengar, you tank like a bunch of fucking auto attacks and abilities, and you double W. You can probably just get this damage off like twice in a row. Again, that's based on the assumption that there's no actual cooldown for gaining stacks based on taking damage, which is probably likely to happen. They're increasing the wave clear for this, which is also good, because if you're playing Chemtank Rengar, you're probably going to be maxing W as well to be able to soak as many cooldowns as possible. Distance per stack. You're going to get less stacks per... That's not a big deal. Again, if your goal is to tank damage, like the leaps are just really useful for stacking it up, but it's not a big deal. Rengar still stacks it really fast based on movement. They make it better for jungle. I don't care about that. Most energy minions, better wave clear. Okay, I like this. This change is not bad for us, I think. Alright. Let's talk about the Divine Sunder Gore Drinker changes, alright? Basically, they're removing 100 health in exchange for 580. Both of these items give ability haste, I believe. I'm actually not sure about Divine Sunder. I think it gives like 20. Yeah, it gives 20 ability haste. But these are actually good changes for Rengar. If you've been watching my stream, you know that I do like building Phage first as a component, because it gives decent sustain and just a bit more survivability for lane, which is good. But the reason I'm okay with having that replaced with Caulfield's is because Caulfield's gives 10 ability haste, and cooldown reduction is absolutely massive for Rengar, no matter what build you're going, because a lot of your trades hinge around your W cooldown. So increasing the AD is always nice. We're getting 580 on Divine Sunder, 1080 on Gore Drinker, which is really good for us, because currently Gore Drinker just gives fucking 0 damage. If you're going Gore Drinker, I usually go a supplementary item in the form of Bork to actually do damage, or I just build straight resistances afterwards, or health. But with these changes, it should be a bit more damage friendly, which of course is their intention. The 100 health, you won't miss it too terribly much, because again, we have options of just straight tank items later on in the build. Rengar can build like has a really diverse build path. So the health off isn't that bad, and having the bit of AD earlier when our damage is more important rather than our survivability in team fights should be really helpful for the pick. So I think I would consider these buffs for Rengar as well. So Chemtech, the Chemtech is technically a buff for Rengar, I think, unless they cap the stack increase with time. And Divine Center and Gorgeker look to be buffs right now. Trinity Force, alright. This is an item I don't go too much. But it looks like they're making it more of a tank item, a tankier item. So like I don't really mind that too much. It's mostly a item I'll go if I'm looking to exclusively split push anyways. I don't think it's going to be too big a deal. I don't think I care too much about this, but this would be a nerf for Rengar Trinity Force. Sterak's Gauge. Okay, Sterak's Gauge is big. Alright. So right now, what Sterak's does is it just... So the first portion, right? The heal over time that they're talking about here, they're talking about Bloodlust, alright? So this is just sustain. This is good for lane, this is just good for against poke. It's not what you really buy the item for. Honestly, I'm pretty sure like most people who buy this item don't really care about this. It's people buy it for lifeline here. But what they're doing is they're taking away all the AD and replacing it with 40% of your base AD. Alright, so what that means is if you want the same amount of damage from Sterak, you better have some high base AD numbers. Because I searched that shit up, like, at level 8, like, you'll only get this 50 attack damage at, like, level 18 with the most champions. If you're looking to do that. It's not that good. For damage, at least. They are nerfing the shield duration as well, which sucks. But they're adjusting the shield value to be a buff for people who are stacking more health, but more of a nerf for people who like are just building this for damage. So this is no longer going to be a third item for bruisers, I think. This is more of a fourth or fifth item after you get a tank item, because before it could be up to 100 plus 40% max HP, and now it's just 75% bonus HP. So it's really just gonna scale off your health. So that's kind of a big deal. And it doesn't actually scale up in team fights anymore. So it might be better in like duels. So I'm going to consider this for a fourth or fifth item from now on, but not really an earlier item. Death Stance. I like the Death Stance changes. They're giving a straight buff, like I think. They're nerfing the damage reduction amount, but they're making it apply to magic as well. So it's no longer just gonna be an armor item. The heal is 175% bonus AD, which should be a buff if you're building more attack damage. So Death Stance is now going to be like a better item for when you're building more damage. So if you're going Gore Drinker and you're not pivoting into just the resistances, you're going more into like damage items, the Bork, the Black Cleaver, the ones that are getting all the AD buffs, this should be good. If you're building tank, Death Stance is going to be less value. I don't think it'll be too terrible because again, with Rengar, when I'm building, I tend to build a lot of items that give AD anyways. So the heal should be fine. But so I think overall I'll consider this a buff for more damage-oriented builds and just a bit of an adjustment for normal Bruiser Rengar for when you're stacking HP and stuff. Resistance items will be better if you're behind, but otherwise if you're looking to fight, looking for those nice 5v5s, those resets, Death Stance is the play. Cleaver is getting a straight damage buff, I think, and a haste buff with flat health nerf, again, for the reasons I've already talked about. I don't really care too much about the health because this is a relatively earlier item. It's like first or second item for me. I only really want the durability from third item onwards, so this is fine. Ravenous Hydra's getting a buff, but I don't think I'll be building that item anytime soon still. It's okay, but there's just so many better items for, like, there's so many other items that are just better in slot. Maw is getting a big it. So before, this item is straight garbage, alright? It if you want magic resistance and damage, you probably just build like a better magic resist item. Like you don't build this item very often. It's very, very one-dimensional because it gives you MR, but it doesn't give you any health. So if you build this early on, you don't really have the same amount of survivability as if you just built like Spirit Visage or something. Because you're not getting any health for that resistance to go with. But now what they're doing is they're actually just making this shield scale with AD. They're making it more of a survivability item for people who are already building damage. So instead of a item that's just like really awkward, they're giving it more damage, more haste, more shield. This actually could be a good item for Rengar now. I actually think this wouldn't be too bad because 5 more haste, 5 more AD, plus like Omnivamp, plus a bonus AD shield. It's just better. You can build this like if you're going I don't know, Goredrinker and you're against full AP. I can even see you going Maw second into a Force of Nature and then you just never fucking die. Maw, Force of Nature, and you just build damage items like, I don't know, Death Stance for the magic, though it's still going to be an armor item technically. It might not be the best, but maybe like a Bork, because there's going to be a buff here that I'm going to talk about in a sec as well. We're going to want to ban our rail in next patch though, because this shit is crazy. Anyways, yeah, Maw is going to be crazy actually, I think. Hexdrinker is getting a compensation buff to skill it with Maw, so that's fine. Hearthstone Axe is getting cost buffed, so we don't care about that. And the last item is Blade of the Ruined King. So up 100 gold, but you get 2% more max HP damage on every auto. And for a champion that autos a lot, like Rengar can hit a lot of auto attacks in one fight. His basic combo has 3, and considering the fact that they also give attack steroids, like in duels, you can often get like just 5 more like fucking auto attacks. I'm kind of just trying to envision my head. It's like around 4, right? If you're like sticking onto a tank or some shit or another duelist, and you're just hitting them with Blade of the Ruined King, you can get like 4 more autos off. That's another 8% max HP. Like it's a decent amount. It's a decent chunk of extra damage, and I'm kind of here for it. I'm really looking forward to these changes. I think it's actually helpful for Rengar. Even though they're looking to nerf the Bruiser playstyle, Rengar is always more fun with a bit more damage. So playstyles might change a bit. You might not be able to tank nearly as much unless we're going to Chemtech build. But that can... it's good to have a bit more diversity between the builds as well. So in terms of example builds, what I might do is... let's actually switch back to League here. So in terms of example builds, something I might do instead. Alright. If you're thinking about what to build in the new patch, let's just make a new item set here. I don't know what these other ones are, but what I might do is, let's say, an example build for, let's say, Goredrinker, right? Let's say Goredrinker against, let's say against AP, all right? Against AP, we could go with we can go for the Maw second item. We can go for the Force of Nature third, because Force of Nature is actually a busted MR item. If you're not already building this item on Bruiser Rengar, you should. It's actually so good. And then after this, if we need more damage, we could go Bork. We can go more tankiness with Spirit Visage. Like, we have the options of all these items. It's really nice. We can go Cleaver with the Blade of the Ruined King for just really good dueling. These items are all good, alright? But let's say you're going Goredrinker into AD. Alright, what do you want? Then let's say I'll want the Blade of the Ruined King second, like I do right now. And then normally this is where I would go Sterak, right? But because of the changes to Sterak, the next item I might build instead would just be Death Stance, right? And because of the changes, I'm going to be much squishier, but I'm going to be doing more damage. So when we play this, we're looking to just assassinate backline targets, get resets. The playstyle is going to be different. We're not going to be looking to frontline with this. This is more of a damage. If you're looking to frontline, From now on, I think the build would be to go Chemtech into Titanic and all those other items again. With the option of Sterak's Gauge as well, actually. So that's Gore Drinker. You could also swap out Divine Sunder if you're looking for better dueling. I usually use them interchangeably based on if I'm fighting 1v1s or team fights. I'll use Gore Drinker for team fights. I'll use Divine Sunder for 1v1s. In terms of the Chemtank build, I still think Treble Chemtank with Titanic would be the play. But then afterwards, we can strip just look for a Sterak Gauge, 3rd or 4th. Probably 4th, actually. We can go Maw of Malmortius if we're into AP, because it does give a lot of haste now. And we are still getting a decent amount of bonus AD just from Titanic Hydra, because it gives us bonus AD based on our max health. Or we can alternatively just go Cleaver 3rd, because it's still a really nice Bruiser item. The health is only nerfed by 100. It gives ability haste, attack damage, and armor shred. But other than that, we're probably just... Yeah, I'm probably going to go with these 4 items for the Chemtank build. And from here on out, it's probably just more tank items or instead of the current Bruiser items. But yeah, I think those are my thoughts on this new patch. I'm excited to see it drop. I really think it'll be really nice for Rengar. Alright, thanks for watching.